I now live in Reading. I moved down south a couple of years ago to pursue my dream job. I've had a passion for gardening since about the age of 9 after watching a gardening programme on TV and they were sowing some seeds. And I want to give that a go, so I asked my mum, can we go down to the shops and get some seeds and some compost and some pots? Rather reluctantly she agreed. Even my parents, my grandparents, even my great-grandparents are gardeners. So they all thought it was a bit odd. Anyway, I still remember to this very day that feeling of seeing seeds that as big as a pinpoint, germinating, growing and flowering. It was only something as simple as a cornflower, but to me that was incredibly exciting. And it was just like real life magic. And I know that probably sounds really sad to you all, but it still excites me to this very day. I only had a very small suburban garden back home in Wakefield, and so when I was 12 I very quickly outgrew that. I went to my grandparents and said, is there any chance I could have a bit of your garden? Yeah, of course. So I put a raised bed at the top of the garden. Every year since then I've added raised beds and greenhouses, and now I've got the entire back garden to myself and converted my grandparents into gardeners in the process. So I'm quite proud of that. When I was 16 I went to study at Ask and Bryan College, which is up in York. So I did a level 3 general horticultural qualification, which was fantastic. And that led me on to going down to RHS Garden Wisley, which is in Surrey, where I studied for 2 years, purely plants, which is what really excites me. After I finished there, I graduated in August, just gone, and I now have my dream job, which is one of the reasons I've moved down from Yorkshire. So my job is now to grow the plants for Chelsea Flower Show. So we've all heard of Chelsea Flower Show, and I have the responsibility of growing 5 of the gardens, 5 of the main avenue gardens. Each one requires 10,000 plants and are valued at £100,000. So I have £500,000 of plants under my remit, which is unbelievably scary. But at 21, that just shows you some of the opportunities you can get in this industry. So, as an industry, horticulture faces a bit of a image problem. There is a perception that horticulture is only for people who have A, either failed academically, or B, retired. Both of those aren't true. We're also facing a skills crisis in our industry at the moment, which is very bad for the industry, yes, but flip it on its head, it's an incredible opportunity for young people coming into the industry. Over the next 5 years, there's going to be 60,000 jobs created in the industry, right from level 1, apprenticeships, right the way through till PhDs. There is jobs for basically everybody. So this, when I speak to most people who don't know what horticulture is and you explain to them that it's just a posh word for gardening, they think, oh right, okay, that's nice. This is their perception of horticulture. This isn't horticulture. This is outdoor cleaning in my head. Sitting on a mower all day requires very little skill at all. Whereas, this is what horticulture actually is. This is what is really exciting, diverse, rewarding industry we actually are. This is Singapore. In fact, all 3 of these pictures are Singapore, who at the moment are having a massive drive. They're investing a lot of money, millions and millions of pounds, into horticulture. They know just how important it is for everybody on the earth. And so this is Gardens by the Bay, which you'd be excused for thinking it's a picture from Avatar or something like that. That is a real garden over in Singapore built by horticulturalists. This is Singapore Airport, who are using horticulture to improve people's journeys, because it does that. Using balconies and roof gardens to improve grey spaces. There is nothing I hate more than just grey, dull, boring spaces when you can have plants to excite it. There's a multi-storey building in Singapore which was built specifically just for trees. There is nothing on it but trees. It's an urban jungle. I think that's exciting. So what I thought I'd do is, rather than looking at, so that's what in my head horticulture is, and I thought I'd run through some of the potential career opportunities that you could come into in this industry. So I thought I'd start with my job. So this is Chelsea Flower Show. This has to be the pinnacle of the horticultural career. You've probably seen it on TV. I'd imagine they do quite a lot of coverage for it. And these are 3 of my favourite gardens. So the one on the right there was built by a designer called Matt Keatley. The garden cost £300,000, and it was built for Prince Harry, for his charity, Centre Barley, over in Lesotho, helping children, orphans with HIV. Great cause. I did that planting, so I'm quite excited about that. This is M&G garden. I grew the plants for that garden, so I'm quite excited about that. I just thought that was a nice picture. I didn't have anything to do with that garden. But it just goes to show you, at 21, you can have a great career in horticulture. So I know I mentioned cutting grass and sitting on mowers isn't very exciting, but if grass is your thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But why not do it on the world's biggest stages? So whether you're a football fan, a tennis fan, a golf fan, a rugby fan, whatever it is, pretty much all those sports involve turf. Turf management is much more difficult than you might expect. The Wembley groundsman will be earning between 50 and 70k. Same for Wimbledon. A golf course, typically a groundsman on a golf course will be earning up to 30k. It is a skilled profession. You study for up to 3 years at college just to learn about the grass. So it's not just cutting grass. But if you're going to do that, why not do it in these places? And there are job opportunities at these places all the time. So you can go to college and you can study and then you can go straight out to work and work here. Horticultural science. So not only is horticulture great fun, it's rewarding, it's getting your hands dirty, I love it. There's a science side of it which is really important. Horticulture saves lives and improves lives. The first picture is of the Millennium Seed Bank at Kew, which holds a collection of seeds from across the world. So in the case of everything goes wrong and everything goes tits up across the world, we have the resources to start again. We have the seeds. So if there's ever anything that goes massively wrong, we've got them there. They're in a nuclear bunker. There's nothing that can get at them. They're all freeze-dry stored, all very exciting. We're using science as we're growing as a population across the world. We're now up to 6-7 billion or something, is it? We're running out of space to grow plants as well. So one of the things they're using as well is there's a really cool project going on in Clapham, and there's an underground farm. So they're using nothing but grow lights to grow plants for the restaurant above it. That's pretty cool, and going to be more and more important in years to come. One of the other things is plants contain chemicals. Chemicals that can be used to fight HIV, that can be used to fight cancer, that can be used to fight just about every single disease you've ever come across. But it takes a skilled scientist to be able to extract those chemicals and find them. So Kew, for example, are constantly testing plants to try and find these chemicals. Each plant has thousands upon thousands of different and exciting chemicals. There is a shortage of trained horticultural scientists. Horticulture can be used in forensic science as well. It's not what you might think it is. This is really exciting. So all this in the news about people going to Mars and going to live on Mars, which is quite a bonkers idea, but NASA have started recruiting horticulturalists to go and work for NASA to try and tell them, right, wait a second, so if we're going to go and live on Mars, we need to be able to grow plants in space. How are we going to be able to grow plants in space? Now, NASA, they're a bunch of brainiacs, but they're not very good gardeners. So they've recruited a load of horticulturalists to go and work for them to try and work out exactly how they're going to be able to do that. In fact, there was a movie just released the other week called The Martian. And in The Martian, it's very heavily reliant upon him being able to grow his own plants. So, space travel, something you might not have associated with horticulture. So, that is a couple of exciting jobs, but there are so many more jobs. Everything from floristry to arboriculture, which is tree work, landscaping, garden design. Garden designers can earn up to £80,000 a year. and get to do things like Chelsea Flower Show and help to improve people's lives through that. In fact, I don't know if you've seen, but there's all these competitions going on, the World Skills competitions. There's a landscaping one through in the next hall, and they've just finished about half an hour ago. So they had 16 hours to build a garden, which isn't very long. One person, 16 hours, build a garden. So if you get a chance, go along and look at that, because that's incredibly impressive. Everything from amenity horticulture, which is working in the garden, so you could work in a famous garden. Next week I'm going to visit Charles Darwin's garden to have a look around that. Very exciting. Everything to production horticulture. Production horticulture is going up and up and up. It's worth £7 billion to the economy, is horticulture. So it's not to be laughed at. It's not just a side thing. It's not just gardening. In terms of actually getting into the industry, so you're all obviously very enthused and excited and want to go into horticulture now I've done this talk. So there's a few things you can do now. So I never did my A-levels. There's a genuine option alternative to A-levels, and I'm sure many of the trades around here will tell you the very same. A-levels are great, but if you're wanting to go into a vocational career where it's very hands-on and you need that skill in that trade, you don't have to do your A-levels. You can go and do a level 2 or a level 3 straight from high school and go and study that instead. There are horticultural colleges up and down the country who offer these courses. So I studied at Askham Bryan. I did a 2-year level 3 course. Depending on what GCSEs you're getting, you can start off at level 2 and then work up to a level 3. And then I left my level 3 and I went down to work at Wisley. A level 3 in horticulture is seen as a very good qualification, and you'll walk straight into a job pretty much. If I was you, I would avoid going to your careers advisors, because I think they're a complete way. I'm sorry if any of you are careers advisors. I went to mine, and their reaction was, "I'm really sorry, but you're a bright lad. You want to go and study your A-levels. You want to go and do medicine. You want to go and do law or something like that." And I said, "No, I want to go and study horticulture." And they laughed. So ignore your careers advisors. Seek out your local colleges. Phone them up. They have an abundance of support and information they can give you. It is a fantastic industry. Apprenticeships are a great way to get into the industry. Hands-on training with day release to go to college and study the theory side of it. A fantastic way to get into the industry. All of this information can be found on a fantastic website called Grow Careers. So on Grow Careers, it basically lists all the different jobs you could do in the industry, right the way from floristry through to garden design, through to conservation, through to environmental science, through to working at Kew Gardens, everything. And it's a step-by-step process. So you tell them what subjects you enjoy in school. So it doesn't matter whether you particularly enjoy science, whether you particularly enjoy PE, whether you particularly enjoy graphic design, art, English, maths. There is a career in horticulture that can match every single one of those subjects. And if you go onto that website, it will match your attributes and what you enjoy to a career in horticulture. Young Hort is a fantastic initiative which I run. Young Hort is aimed at supporting young people coming into the industry. We have a group of socials. We have several young people across the industry, across the country even, and we have big get-togethers and big parties. We all come together, so that's a great way of supporting young people coming into the industry. The RHS are fantastic, and I can't advertise them enough, really. Funding is also available to get into the industry. There are thousands upon thousands of pounds that are untapped every year through things like the Merlin Trust, through places like the RHS in terms of bursaries, to be able to travel the world and also help fund your studies. So if you can't necessarily afford, say, the transport to get to college, or you can't afford various different aspects of coming into the industry, there are bursaries available to help with that, and most colleges will also be able to support you with that. Now, I feel incredibly privileged that I basically fell into this industry at the age of 9. I stumbled into it without even realising. Up until the age of 14, I didn't even realise you could have a career in horticulture, because it felt too good to me to be able to do my hobby every day, which sounds a little bit daft, but I just wanted to end with this quote because I love this quote. And my granddad when I was a young kid. He works in the prison as a prison officer, and he hated his job. And he said, look, if you choose a job you love, you'll never have to do a day's work in your life. Every Sunday, I go to bed and I'm excited about going to work on a Monday. Every Monday when I wake up, I'm excited, I'm ready, and I'm actually dragged away from work most of the time because I love it. It's great. When I go home from work, I do gardening. I know it probably doesn't sound very appealing, but please give it a go and just look and see that it's not just cutting the grass, it's not just edging, it's not just weeding. It is so much more than that. You help to improve people's lives. You take something that's nothing and turn it into something beautiful and change people's lives in the process. And that's what I love about it. So I think that's about it. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions about horticulture or getting into horticulture, or any comments? Yes, yeah.
You talk about how you went in.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. how you went in straight from O levels, GCSEs.
Yes.
Yeah. If someone's gone on a couple of years and has got a couple of A levels, what's the route in then?
So there's nothing wrong with going and doing A levels, obviously, but it would probably still be the same route. Depending upon what your A levels are, you can then go on and jump into a degree. So there's degrees in horticulture right the way from production horticulture, horticulture design. Foundation degree, so level 4 would probably be the next step up from an A level, and foundation degrees typically tend to be 3 years and then plus another year if you want to do turn it into an honours. I get very confused the higher it gets. Or there's nothing to stop you going in and doing a level 3. There's nothing to stop you doing a sideways jump and going and study that, which would be learning a completely new set of skills anyway. So there are options available anyway.
Thanks.
Perfect.